You are listening to Survival Stories with Jacqui. Welcome, survival warriors. If you are a victim or survivor of trauma, then you're in the right place. In this show, we'll explore the extreme strength displayed by victims of trauma as they journey through life to the survival pinnacle. My name is Jacqui, and I am so grateful to be here today to share my survival with you. Here is this survival story. Let's dig deep.
And hello again, survival warriors. And I bring to you today the fabulous Uniqueka, who is a friend of mine and an inspiring woman with a story that will keep you, yes, yet another one, on the edge of your seat. It certainly has me, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. So, good morning, Uniqueka, and how are you today? Please tell us what makes you grateful for the day and what makes you with such a big smile.
Good morning. I'm doing very well. I'm grateful for being able to wake up and do this interview. Grateful for my son, especially, and the transformation that I went through. I'm just grateful that I'm such a long way from where I used to be.
Well, that's great. But it's not always been like that. But from what I understand, but before I get there, I have to say to you, we are happy that you've got so much to be grateful for. And we're so happy that you decided to come along and tell us the story. Because as you will know, you're helping others. Because many people, even though at the time we think that it's only us, many people in the world will resonate with your story. They'll relate to it, and they'll be able to learn from you and understand the steps that they can take to get to that point that you're at today. So before I say anything else, could you describe for me the point in which you realised there had to be a change, the point at which you hit rock bottom?
Well, I had a lot of rock bottom moments. To me, I think that's what caused me to transform, because I look back at my life and I always had been at the bottom. When I was 2 years old, I was separated from my mother, by my father, and never saw her. Then when my dad got married, me and my brother went through physical abuse from my stepmom. Then I ended up being in foster care, dancing in the strip club, and I had to get out. But it was in the strip club where I used to just sit back and think. And when I was home reading, and I always had been at the bottom in everything.
Could we just take that apart a bit? Because that's a lot of different things there. And I'm sure you'll appreciate when I say it shows the very strength of the woman that you're sitting here today with us. You say at 2 years old, you were separated from your mom. Mm-hmm. What were your memories at that time? Was it of a loving relationship or other things?
Well, I was too young to really remember or be able to picture anything. I was very young. I don't remember ever being mistreated by her. I don't remember ever feeling unwanted by her. I just knew that she was gone. I was too young to, question anything, because I was like 2 or 3 years old. So I was too young to question anything. My brother, he was an infant, literally. So we were too young to question anything. So when my father got with my stepmother, that was the maternal figure that we had. So as far as my real mother, I don't feel that she mistreated me when I was young. I feel like she probably would have loved me.
Oh, that's, it's a lovely thing to say. Did you ever get to explore it with her? Did you ever get to?
She passed away when I finally found my family, which was this year, 26 years later. And I saw pictures of me and her, and I was always dressed nice. I always had nice things. I have a picture on my Facebook um, cover photo, and it's my mom and me, and it's a big Easter basket about as tall as me. So I don't feel like she was a bad person. I just feel like she had some demons that were stronger than her that she couldn't let go.
That's very, very generous of you, I have to say. But you know, just the pictures themselves would make me happy. You know, seeing the happy times is that you don't have to accept anything else. You know, and I'm sure it tore her apart to be separated from you.
Yes, it did. I have an older brother, which I'm writing a book about everything that happened. But he, told me some things about her, that she was a good person, but she was battling with drug use. And so that was how my father was able to get us away from her. I do feel like if she would have had her kids, maybe that would have kind of helped her. But the fact that you had 3 kids and they're all gone from you, 3 young kids, is enough to make somebody mentally break down.
Absolutely. And as mothers now, we can kind of appreciate the pressures that are, involved in motherhood, and that might lead us in a direction that we don't necessarily want to go along. But we do, so tell me, do you have happy memories of your, being with your stepmother?
Yes, I do have happy memories of being with her. It's just I kind of wonder, why she did the things that she did, the way that she used to abuse us. Part of it makes me think that, because she didn't have kids from my father at the time, but the fact that she was so nice to us when we first met her kind of threw me for a loop, because I was a young girl. She was the only kind of maternal figure that I had. So things were fine for about 2 years until I got in school. And I always talk too much. Always. That's why I should have knew I was going to be a public speaker, because I always talk too much. But I remember one incident, well, 2 incidents that stuck out with me the most. Was, I know I used to always talk in class. So she used to, at first it started off as regular whooping, like just, with.
No, I know the type you're talking about. My mom.
Yeah. So we had to run up and down the stairs. There was times where we were wet getting out the tub, and she would beat us with an extension cord. There was like military style exercises we had to do called 6-inch killers, and you had to lift your legs up like 6 inches, and if you drop them, like it sounds like it probably doesn't hurt, but once your legs are at 6 inches for that long, your legs get tired. So she would be sitting, we'll be laying on the floor, and she would be sitting on the couch, and she would have like a belt or a extension cord or whatever, and if we dropped our feet, she would swat us. And I never was against, I never felt like, I should never get chastised for anything, but it was just to the extent. And because I was in elementary school, I could see if I was sneaking in boys or, cussing out the teacher or something, but the small things that I did in elementary school, I couldn't really figure out, why is she doing me like this? And then I think the main thing I remember because at first I was talking in class, I was like, well, maybe, this is a way of punishment. But I remember when I finally realized that I felt like she was evil. I can't remember if it was Valentine's Day or Halloween, but you know how kids come home with the candy. And so I ate like the majority of my candy on the bus, like everyone else. It's a full candy bag. So when I came home and she searched my book bag and she sent all the candy wrappers, she stripped me naked, sat on me, and put a sock in my mouth so I wouldn't scream. and beat me with a belt. And I just couldn't, my mind was, I knew it was just you know, I knew I probably wasn't supposed to eat all that candy, but I'm little. I'm 4'11" right now, and I'm 28. So when I was in elementary school, I was very small. So for a heavy-set adult woman to sit on me and like sit on me so I wouldn't move, you know, sit on me and strip me naked and put a sock in my mouth so I wouldn't scream and beat me over eating candy on the bus, that was when I really felt like she was evil. And my biggest regret is not really telling my dad, because during the time she was the only mother figure that I had. I didn't know what my mom looked like at all. So in my child mind, how are you going to tell on your mom?
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to tell on your mom? But as my brother got in school, and then both of us were getting abused, and then he had ADHD and was running away, and then I started running away. So we had bruises. The people got tired of us, you know, going there with bruises on us. And so we ended up, you know, going in foster care. But I do have good memories of her when we first met. She is actually a major factor in why I read. She used to take me to the bookstore and buy me books and things like that. She was kind of a bittersweet person. It just made me wonder, you know, why would you, you know, do us the way you did?
Well, you know, when you think about it, I don't know that I can justify it in any way that why she did that, because at the end of the day, elementary school, you're a baby, you know, you're still a little one. There is nothing that could have been happening in her relationship with your father that would make her need to take it out with you. Your mom was long gone, you know, so it's not like I can't understand that, because she, like you said, she was a heavy set woman. So at the end of the day, what was she proving? That she was bigger than you. You know, she was proving that she was stronger than you. Big whoop. You know,
Yeah.
Big whoop. So did you say you went to foster care?
Mm-hmm.
Did that make you feel rejected in some way? Because I think because you were young, you kind of accepted that your birth mom wasn't there. But
to be completely honest, when I first got into, I'm not going to say into foster care. When I, you know, first ran away, I was at it's called the Youth Crisis Center here. And I stayed there until, you know, they figured out, because that wasn't my first time at the Youth Crisis, and I ran away before, and they always sent me back. So to be honest, when the last time I remember I ran away, I was barefoot. She told me to take the job. She was beating me for something. And I just got so, I just was tired of it. Like she would, like you would be talking to her and she would like knock you upside the head where your head would hit the door, you know? So I just got tired of it. So she told me to go take the trash out, and I didn't have any shoes on. And I went and I took that trash out, and I went out that back gate, and I was gone. And I went, I was walking down the street, and somebody had took me to the Youth Crisis Center. But my initial feeling, I can't even lie, I was happy. I was just tired of that. I was in the sixth grade.
Actually, what that felt.
I felt free. Cause it got to the point, it seemed like I was walking on eggshells with her. Like any little thing that you do is just like, my brother had ADHD, and so his attention goes everywhere. So she would beat him or yell at him while doing his homework. So when I got into, not really into foster care, but when I was at the center for that 2 or 3 weeks, I was very relieved. I was really worried about my brother, you know, what he was going through, but I was relieved that I just felt so free. I really did.
That's, you know, what you've just described is something that I always wanted to do when I was growing up, to just walk and keep walking and feel that freedom. But I never had the courage to do it. Because that in itself, I hope you know the courage that you had at that time. And I know you had to show it many times over in your lifetime. But the courage to do that, to just have no shoes on, walk and keep walking. Oh my God, you're amazing. You truly are. But we're going to take a break there. When we get back, we're going to explore a little bit more about the whole foster care experience and where that led you, and continue along your journey towards where you are today.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Thank you to everyone that has joined me on my virtual book tour, Still Glowing Up. The Glow Up is available on my website, missuniqueka.com, msuniqueka.com. There's 2-day shipping for free on walmart.com, and it's also available on eBay. Thank you all for joining my virtual book tour, Still Glowing Up, and I hope you all enjoy this interview.
Right, and we're back, and Uniqueka is going to continue to tell us about her story, which is amazing. She's just described to us a moment of courage in the abuse that was being meted on her by her stepmother when she walked out with no shoes on and went to look for care elsewhere. She's amazing. Let's continue. Back to you, Uniqueka.
Well, that was a traumatic point in my life, but being at that center, even though I wasn't around, anybody that I knew, I was around other kids that were going through similar things. It really did feel like freedom to me. When I got into foster care, me and my brother were together at first in a foster home, but then the little boy was bullying him, and I was protecting my brother basically. So I started bouncing around from foster home to foster home. I lived in over 30 foster homes and group homes. It was to the point where I had been to every group home and foster home that allowed, teenage girls in Jacksonville. So I ended up spending some of my 7th and 8th grade school year in St. Augustine. I lived in 2 different group homes there. Being in foster care was filled with lessons that I think I wouldn't have learned anywhere else.
Good lessons?
Good and bad.
Okay.
Good and bad. I learned a lot about people and a lot about how to deal with people. I learned about somewhat of a sisterhood because all of us were, going through the same things. And then sometimes you had, the sister that you don't really like. I ran away a lot because I didn't feel that it was genuine. Everywhere I went, it felt like I was a check. I think it was only 2 places that I went that I didn't really feel like this person really just doesn't care. And growing up in foster care, I didn't have parental guidance. So, going to school and doing good is your own choosing. You can choose to drop out if you want to because you didn't really have that stability. So when I was in foster care, I made it all the way to the 12th grade. And in my 12th grade year, I couldn't afford it. The SAT and ACT test, they told the system, the foster care people, they told me that I missed my deadline to request the funds for that. So that was out of the question. Then I had prom, yearbook, senior dues, cap and gown, just everything that went with being a senior. I couldn't afford it. So I was very embarrassed. That was another feeling that I had when I grew up in foster care. I was embarrassed a lot. I was very ashamed. I used to how the Adidas had 3 stripes on them. My shoes had 4 because I had the fake kind. I remember them having Melissa's, like the clear Melissa shoes. They had an M. Mine had a W because I couldn't afford, the real kind. And I remember being kind of ashamed because I didn't have what everyone else had. And I used to avoid, conversations about family. Someone talked about, oh, my mom did this or my dad. I just, just went and talked because I can't relate or I can't, share those memories. And then I always dreaded, that someone would find out that I was in foster care. And sometimes they did and sometimes they didn't. And I was always known in school as the girl that was in foster care. But it did teach me a lot. It taught me I'm very humble because of the beginning that I came from. And it gave me a determination because I was in school and I was less fortunate. It made me want to complete school and do something. So that's what made me go to the 12th grade. Nobody pushed me and said, Uniqueka, you better graduate, or no one did that. I did that. And I did it all the way up until the end when I just couldn't afford it. And it was either just go to school for nothing because you can't take the test, you can't do anything, or just drop out. So that's when I dropped out and I started dancing in the club.
Could I just ask you, I know you were in care because of the abuse of your stepmom. Were you still in contact with your father though?
My father is very nonchalant about things. He shows his love in a very different way. I can't be mad. I am mad at him about the abuse, but I can't really be mad because I never really told him. But when we got into foster care and they said, hey, where's the kid's mom? He said, I don't know.
Okay.
So, yeah, so he did that. And then he signed his rights away. He could have took the parenting classes to get us. They told him, you could take the parenting class and you can get your kids back. And he said that he wasn't going to have the state telling him how to run his house. So he signed his rights away. He signed them away. So basically that basically says, I have no parent because you're just in the system, you signed your rights away. So growing up, I didn't really talk to him. I didn't really care too much to talk to him. I remember the day when they came and told me that he signed his rights away because luckily I was 13 at the time. I got in foster care when I was in 6th grade. I was 11. The process went on for about a year and a year or two, and he was going back and forth to court. So I remember the social worker coming, and I was 13, and she was like, we're going to take you and your brother's pictures. And I said, take our pictures? What are you taking our pictures for? She's like, I'm going to put it in the art gallery. So I said, well, what is the art gallery? The art gallery is the pictures of all the kids that are up for adoption. And so it has their pictures and families can come and look at you and look at your picture and know information about you, and then they'll adopt you if they want to or not. And so me being 13, she said, well, my brother was only 11. So he, automatically, he didn't have the say so in Florida yet to say whether he wanted to be adopted. But me, I was 13. So she asked me, did you want to be adopted? And I said, no. And because I always had heard stories about teenagers that get adopted. So I didn't want to get adopted. So that was, I remember that. And my dad, he is a man of few words or no words. Yeah. And he feels like he doesn't have to explain anything to you. So, what happened with that whole situation is still unclear to me because he won't, speak on it.
Okay. So I know a lot of this is detailed in your book, so I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's a good, it's interesting. It has many turns and twists in it. But I want you to take us towards your decision to dance in the club.
Well, that decision, I was working at the flea market at the time, selling CDs for this lady named Dominique. Back then, before everybody was downloading streaming apps and everything, everyone had the CD disc that they play on the radio of the car. So I worked at a music store that was in the flea market selling like burnt CDs and DVDs and things like that. So I did that for a few months only because I was a senior and I would go to school from 7 to about 10 or 11. Then when I get out, I would make up the other credits by working. So she would sign off that I worked, part-time at the store. But it still wasn't enough for me to graduate. It wasn't enough for me to do anything. And by that time, it was kind of running out for me to do anything. So I was on the city bus, and you know how you don't particularly know them personally, but you always see somebody, so it feels like you know them.
Yes.
I was on the city bus, and this girl, she used to always, be on there with me. I always seemed to be on there with me. I always sat somewhere by me, and she was younger, older than me. She was 23 or 24 at the time, and I was only 17. And I was fascinated by her because she was brown skinned like me. She was pretty. She was slim. She had a lot of goals in her mouth. And I just thought she was very different. So I decided to say something to her, and we started conversations on the bus sometimes. And she said, I'm going to work. I said, well, where you going to work at? She was like, I'm going to the Pony. So I said, well, what's the Pony? So she was like, it's a club. I'm going to show it to you when we pass by on the bus. So we passed by. It was like a little pink strip club or whatever. So I told her, I'm 17. I'm about to be 18. I was in foster care. At the time, I was almost 18. So the foster parent that I was living with basically let me be on my own. So I didn't have any problems with, are you able to stay out at the club? So she understood my situation because she wasn't in foster care, but she had like a similar upbringing. So she understood I needed the money. So she asked me, did I have any heels at home? I told her yes. And so she said, well, I got costumes. So you just bring your heels and me and my boyfriend will pick you up. So they picked me up, and we went to the club, and I had bought this lingerie that was not any stripper attire that I didn't know. So she's like, no, you're not wearing that. We'll give you this. So she gave me some real costumes, and that's what started, my dancing. And I was so scared. First, I didn't even know if the ID that I had was going to work. But Diamond, that's her name, she had been working at the club for so long, so the people probably wouldn't even weren't really looking at the ID. But I remember being very scared. I laugh about it now, but back then I was so scared. I was scared.
Was it an overall positive experience, though? I don't want you to tell me how it led you to today. I just want to know if it was, because, some people say that dancing is empowering.
I always loved to dance. Dancing is empowering. I wouldn't say that, go the route to the club. You could find another form of dance. But at that time, that was all that I had. And I think what made me stay in the club for so long was, it sounds weird, but it kind of reminded me, it was familiar because it kind of reminded me of foster care. All these girls in the dressing room that came from all different, walks of life. Just like when I was in foster care, all these different girls that you have to share a room with that come from all different walks of life. So in the club, I didn't feel like the oddball or the outcast like I did at school when I was ashamed to say I was in foster care, or I was ashamed to say, I didn't have any family. It wasn't like that when I got in the club, it was different people, different girls there for their own battles and their own, situations. So I think that's what kept me there for so long, was just because of the fact that, these are other people around me too that are going through things that are not going to judge me.
So, yeah, I can see how it could be made easier with friendships, and that is probably why, even though you were scared, you were able to continue, would you say?
Yes, it was, but it got old, after a while. When you're young and you just now start out doing it, it's something to do. And when it's just a hobby, it seems fun. But when it's your actual way of life, and it's, you have to pay rent, so you have to go there. You have to pay lights, and you have to feed your kids, so you have to go there. That's when, reality sets in. And I guess I kind of grew bored of that life because I was in it since I was 17. So it got to a point where it felt like I was stagnant.
Okay,
And
let's take a break there, because I feel like you're approaching that point of turnaround where you started taking steps towards what you really wanted to do. So let's take a break there. We'll be right back for the concluding third of the show, in which you take us towards today.
Hi, this is Jacqui, and you've been listening to one of my friends tell their stories today. I invite my friends to tell their stories to help you heal. If you do have any trauma or any difficulties that you think we could help you with, please visit my website, jacquiandfriends.com, and leave a message or contact me, and I'll be happy to connect you with either today's friend or anyone else who you've listened to or watched who you think might be able to help you further. Or if you just want to talk to me, that's great too.
And we're right back, and we're on the edge of our seats because Uniqueka was telling us she had been working in the club but had got bored. And this could be the moment where she tells us how she turned everything around. Over to you, Uniqueka.
So I was dancing since I was 17. And while I was dancing, I was always an inquiring mind. I always liked to read. I drew back to reading when I was young. And I knew that it had to be something more to my life than just being in the club, because I had went through too much, just for that to be my final destination. I always felt like it was something greater within me. So my first attempt at not dancing was, I got pregnant and had my son. So I wanted to, be able to be a positive role model for him, and I didn't want to be having to dance. So I went to school to Job Corps in Jacksonville, and I got my GED and my medical assistant certification. And I started working at a doctor's office. I was so good, I got hired on my internship. Like, I was literally left out of school and had a job there. And it was good. It was, and I wish I would have been more grateful for it. I started back hanging with like old friends and mixing around in the club. And I hadn't, dance because I was pregnant, and then I had the baby and I went to school. So I wasn't dancing then. But I went on one weekend and I said, well, I'm going to work on the weekdays, and then on the weekends I'll dance. So that started to a Tuesday night, and then the weekends. And then all of a sudden I was going every day. And that took a toll on my job. I had got fired because I was either late or I just, wasn't coming. And then the club went from just being a hobby or second to my job to being my main thing again. And it seemed like I was the only one that was discontent with my situation. Everyone else around me was functioning and they were happy where they were in their respective places in their life. And I just felt like I should be doing more. And a lot of people say what made them change was looking at what they wanted to be. And that was the opposite for me. I changed because of what I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be in the club at an older age. A lot of girls were telling about their grandkids and things like that. And I just didn't want that to be me. I didn't want to have to get, anything done to alter my body or alter my appearance to keep up with the times. I just noticed that things weren't, my mindset had shifted and I was not willing to accept the circumstances that I was in. So I stopped. I made up my mind that I was going to stop dancing. I didn't tell anybody. Like I didn't make a big grand announcement or anything. I was just dancing at night and I was waking up in the daytime and I was looking for a job. And I got a job at a call center for a security company. And as I changed and people saw me and, I wasn't, a Senate or a lawyer or anything, but they just saw this girl that they knew had danced for so long. And this girl is out the club and she changed and she has no intention on coming back. So a lot of people ask me, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And me, I've always been willing to share information, especially from the books that I read, because I love reading that much. So I said, well, instead of me, telling everybody, I'm going to write it. And as I was changing, as I was setting my goals, I wrote down how I set my goals. As I was coming up with ideas in my creative process, I shared, wrote down how I come up with ideas, what I use, for my creative process. And that book basically is a record of the things that I did to set the foundation for me to change. And I always say the foundation because there's so many elements to growth and to self-reinvention and to evolving. So I don't say that, this is everything that you need to change, but I do feel that it sets the foundation and it gives you a starting place. So that's why I wrote The Glow Up.
Wow. I just think you're amazingly strong because you had, some people talk about rolling with the punches. You had quite a few punches to roll with there, Mrs. And you just kept getting up and continuing going. Why do you think you have such resilience? Is it just that determination? Why do you think so?
Well, I think it has something to do with our ancestors, how strong they were and, what they had to go through. And I guess what made me so strong is I became self-centered. I became a person that had to protect me at all costs. Because I grew up in foster care by myself and I didn't have a mom. When I thought about all that, I already knew, just from you dealing with these things as a child, I knew, I could, push through this. And I think my strongness comes from survival. I had to survive my stepmom. Like she probably would have abused me she abused me all through elementary. I would have been abused all through middle school and high school probably, so my survival instinct said run away. When I was in foster care, I had survival instincts of, I had to fight with certain girls. I got in, certain things. So I'm always a survivor. And I got tired of surviving. I wanted to thrive. And in order for me to go from survivor to thriver, I knew, I had to get out the club, because I was just basically surviving in the club, but I wanted to thrive.
Anyone get hold of your book and tell us?
Well, the book tour for my book, The Glow Up, is, the Glow Up is about self-reinvention. And I started Still Growing Up, my book tour, because of the times that we are in. As I stated, I love to share information, and I really want to see people be better. And I just realized I created a real tour, like an actual physical tour, but, with everything that went on, I'm not able to do that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had got sad. And then I started seeing people saying, it's the end of the world. Everybody's just panicking. So I just felt like I had to get this book out, and I have to help people because they really think it's the end of the world. So Still Growing Up is basically my gift to the world, showing people that even though we are in uncertain times, even though this is not, anything that we're used to, we have been pushed to do and not do things that we never thought we would have, done before. And I feel like through all of that, people need to be reminded that you still have growing up to do. It doesn't stop because of a sickness or a pandemic or a tragical current event. It doesn't stop. And that's why I named the tour Still Growing Up, because even though, we are living a life that we probably never would have predicted for ourselves right now as a whole, as a world, I really feel like people should still be growing up and still be trying to find different ways and different avenues to create.
Well, that's an amazing message, and it's a really pertinent message to be putting out there, because there are a lot of people who are very down right now and not knowing how to pick themselves up and move forward. So your book is very, very timely. Now, if they wanted to get on, to see you on the tour or to get hold of the book, is there one place? Are there many places?
Yes. So I have social media sites. Of course, I have Facebook, which is Uniqueka Shundrell. My Instagram, I have two. I have Miss Uniqueka, MS, and then my name, and then Uniqueka University. The tour will be on all of my social sites, and then it will also be on my website. I have a personal website, mistuniqueka.com. So basically, the tour is me extending my services to podcasters and YouTubers, because it's kind of hard for people to get guests right now and things like that. So I want to extend my services to podcasters and things like that to help them expand their guest catalog and things while we're in this time as well. So the tour can be followed on my social sites. Every podcast that I do, I post a blog post about it on my website with a link to where to listen to the interview directly. And the book is also available on my website. So if you subscribe to my website, you can basically follow the tour.
Excellent. But I'd like to share with the listeners, with your permission, that this was a positive story in the end.
Yes.
Could you tell us, please? Just not too much detail, not to spoil the book,
okay.
But what happened in the end, family-wise, because that really excites me. I love to hear a happy family story. I
love my family. I really do. At first, I was kind of sad about my mom, passing away before I got to meet her. But she has so many brothers and sisters, and I have so many cousins. And it's so crazy because when I was, even my son's dad, he said, well, now you can stop saying you don't have no family, because every time I used to, get angry or something, I would say, I don't have no family anyway, so I don't need anybody, you know. So now to see that I have this big family, they're a huge family, and they're everywhere. It's such a blessing to me. And the most important part about me having my family is not even me having my family. It's the fact that I can raise my son up around real family, and their roots are so deep. They're very southern and very. I love my family. I really do, and um, giving my son that opportunity to be around cousins and aunts and uncles, and to see my grandmother's two sisters, and to see pictures of my granddad and his sisters. It's a very wonderful thing to be able to give that to my son.
That support for your son is fabulous. And I'm so glad that it came to you in the end too. And Uniqueka, we're very grateful to you for telling us this story, and we will definitely be looking out for your book when it's available. Now, before we go, I have to put you under the spotlight, as I put every guest under the spotlight in. Let's get to know Uniqueka. So, ice water or a cold beer?
Ice water.
Ice water. Do you drink spirits? Or do you not drink?
No, I don't drink beer. It has like a bitter taste. So I don't really like beer.
I'm right with you there. As you're Southern, I'm now going to embarrass myself with a Southern, the ones we think about. When we think about Southern people, we think about grits.
Yeah.
What are grits?
What are grits?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
You never had grits? Grits is like a grain. Grits is like it's like a grain. It's like a wheat, that's the only thing I can describe it as, is like a grain.
Like rice, or like
it's kind of like the breakfast version of rice. You know how rice you'll put that on the side for like all dinners. Grits is like the rice of breakfast. You can put grits on the side of anything.
Oh.
You can think of it in the form of like a rice.
I've only ever known it in, when you watch the films.
They don't have grits in London?
Not called grits. So, what is your favourite meal? Well, we'll stay on a Southern tip. What is your
My favorite meal is a crab pot with crabs, shrimp, eggs, potatoes, corn, boiled peanuts. I like seafood. I'm really a pescatarian. I don't really eat too much meat. I really mostly eat seafood. If I do eat meat, it will probably be chicken, and that's mostly in a salad, like a chicken salad or something. But as far as meals, I love seafood. So like a big crab pot is what I would take.
How does the egg fit in there though?
You boil the egg. So like you put the water in the pot. Yeah, you don't have crab boils in London either. So you put the water it's like a big pot, and then you put the eggs in there. You cut the potatoes in like half or three. Put that in there. You put like crab boil seasoning. You get live crabs. Put that in there. The eggs are boiled, so that's how it's not like scrambled. Then you put it in the water. No, it's boiled eggs. You put corn on the cob in there. So basically like a seafood boil, like a big pot of seafood boil.
You see, I've learned something new today. So I'm just going to have to ask the question as well. Collard greens, what happens there?
So collard greens, how I do them, some people buy them out of can, but I can't buy them out the can. I have to buy the whole greens, and you cut them and clean them. And some people clean them first and then cut them, or you can cut it up and then clean them, and then you boil it. Some people put like neck bones and stuff in their collard greens, but because I don't eat meat, I'll put like a seasoning that tastes like meat, but I don't actually put the meat in there. But a lot of people put neck bones in it, or like salt pork is like a little piece of bacon, just gives it flavor. And I eat it with hot sauce.
You see, you've enlightened me now. These are going through my head every year, you know, as I watch those shows. Like, you remember the old Eddie Murphy movie, Boomerang, where the parents come round and bring those foods. And I love those old black movies. They're wicked. You know? And I think, what is so tasty about it? I don't know. But now, you've solved the big issue there.
Yes, it's very, very good.
Give us one piece of advice that you would for anyone watching this show who wants to learn your next level of resilience.
I would say start where you are and use what you have. When I first started out, when I stopped dancing, like I said, I didn't know I was going to be an author or speaker. I was just looking for a job. But the most important thing was to just start the transformation. Even if you can't start your business today, do what you can to take a step towards it, even if it's writing out a plan. So I would definitely tell everyone to start, you know, exactly where you are. You don't have to wait until things are all the way together. You don't even have to have it all the way together, but you do have to start for anything to happen.
Fabulous, fabulous. I've really enjoyed this show. And I'd like to say thank you again, Uniqueka. This has been Survival Stories. That has been my friend Uniqueka. I have been Jacqui, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.
And there we have it, another empowering episode of Survival Stories. If you had something today that resonated with you, please reach out at jacquiandfriends.com and download our free PDF. Don't forget to head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review and rating. And whilst you're online, why not join our community of warriors on Facebook at Survival with Jacqui. Look forward to seeing you there.